Picture yourself in a room full of brilliant minds, PhDs, entrepreneurs, scientists, all credentials gleaming, all speaking with confidence. And yet, as you listen closely, something feels hollow. Their words are sophisticated, their arguments polished, but there's an emptiness beneath it all, a lack of depth, a blindness to what truly matters. Then it hits you. Intelligence is not wisdom, and we live in a world that has confused the two so completely that we've built entire civilizations on this dangerous illusion. Today we'll explore one of the most overlooked crises of our time, how humanity has become intellectually brilliant yet spiritually bankrupt, how we've mastered information but lost understanding, how we know more than ever before yet comprehend less than our ancestors. You'll discover why this happened, what it's costing us, and most crucially, how to bridge the gap between knowing and being. Stay until the end, because the final insight will not just challenge your assumptions, it will reveal a path that few dare to walk, but those who do transform everything. If this resonates with something deep inside you, help this message reach others who are ready. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment your reflections, and share it with those hungry for truth beyond information. What you're about to learn has the power to shift not just your thinking, but the very foundation of how you live. Let us begin this exploration into the heart of true understanding. Let's confront an uncomfortable reality. We live in the most educated era in human history, yet we seem to make the same catastrophic mistakes over and over again. We have more access to information than any generation before us. Libraries in our pockets, universities online, experts everywhere, and yet divorce rates remain high. Mental illness is epidemic. Wars continue. Environmental destruction accelerates. Political discourse has devolved into tribal warfare. How can this be? The answer lies in a devastating confusion. We have mistaken intelligence for wisdom. We believe that because we can analyze, calculate, and memorize, we have understanding. But these are not the same thing. Intelligence is the capacity to process information. Wisdom is the capacity to discern truth. Intelligence can build a nuclear bomb. Wisdom asks whether we should. Intelligence creates social media algorithms. Wisdom understands their impact on the human soul. The ancient Greeks understood this distinction deeply. Socrates, one of history's wisest figures, famously declared, "I know that I know nothing." This wasn't ignorance speaking, it was profound wisdom. Because true wisdom begins with humility, with the recognition that knowledge without understanding is dangerous. Yet today we worship credentials, degrees, titles. We assume that someone with a PhD must have wisdom, that someone who has read 1,000 books must understand life, that someone who can speak eloquently must speak truth. This is the paradox. The more intelligent we become, the more we risk losing wisdom, because intelligence can create elaborate justifications for anything. It can rationalize cruelty, defend injustice, and build beautiful arguments for terrible ideas. Think about the most intelligent people you've encountered. Perhaps professors, doctors, lawyers, scientists. Now ask yourself honestly, how many of them seem truly wise? How many had that rare quality of deep understanding, not just of facts, but of life itself? The truth is, many highly intelligent people are emotionally stunted, spiritually empty, and practically helpless when facing life's deeper challenges. They can solve complex equations but can't maintain healthy relationships. They can diagnose diseases but can't find peace within themselves. They can build empires but can't build meaningful connections. This is not an attack on intelligence. Intelligence is valuable, necessary, even beautiful. But when it exists without wisdom, it becomes a sophisticated form of blindness. The philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote, "The heart has its reasons which reason knows nothing of." He recognized that there exists a form of knowing that transcends intellectual analysis, a knowing that comes from lived experience, from deep reflection, from contact with something greater than mere data. This is wisdom, and it cannot be taught in universities. It cannot be measured by tests. It cannot be obtained through degrees. Wisdom emerges from the crucible of life itself, from suffering integrated, from mistakes acknowledged, from pride surrendered. Intelligence asks, what do I know? Wisdom asks, what do I not know? Intelligence seeks to be right. Wisdom seeks to be true. Intelligence defends positions. Wisdom explores possibilities. And here's where it gets dangerous. When intelligent people lack wisdom, they become some of the most destructive forces in society because they have the tools to convince, manipulate, and influence, but not the depth to do so responsibly. History is filled with brilliant architects of horror, ideologies that sounded sophisticated but led to genocide, economic theories that looked perfect on paper but destroyed millions of lives. The 20th century philosopher Martin Heidegger, despite his intellectual brilliance, supported the Nazi regime. How could someone so intelligent be so blind? Because intelligence without wisdom cannot see truth. It can only see what it wants to see. This same pattern repeats today. Experts confidently predict outcomes that never materialize. Intellectuals champion causes that harm the very people they claim to help. Leaders with impressive resumes make decisions that devastate communities. Why? Because they operate from knowledge without understanding. Consider the modern education system. We spend decades teaching people how to think, but almost no time teaching them what to think about. We train minds to analyze, but not hearts to discern. We produce graduates who can argue any position, but who have no internal compass to know which position is worth arguing for. We create intellectual mercenaries, capable of defending any idea for the right price or social approval. This is the crisis of our age, not a lack of intelligence, but an absence of wisdom. Not insufficient information, but insufficient integration. The ancient traditions understood something we've forgotten. That wisdom begins not with accumulation, but with emptiness. The Taoist sage Lao Tzu taught, to attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, subtract things every day. Wisdom requires unlearning. It demands letting go of certainties, of intellectual pride, of the need to be the smartest person in the room. But our culture resists this. We celebrate complexity over simplicity. We reward clever arguments over honest reflection. We promote those who speak with confidence, not those who speak with truth. And so we've created a world where intelligence is abundant, but wisdom is rare. Where everyone has opinions, but few have understanding. Where knowledge is everywhere, but insight is nowhere. Ask yourself, when was the last time you encountered someone who made you feel not impressed but transformed? Not someone who dazzled you with their intellect, but someone who touched something deeper. Someone whose presence conveyed understanding that words alone could not capture. These are the wise. And they are becoming extinct, because we don't value them, we don't seek them, we don't even recognize them when they appear. So what creates this gap between intelligence and wisdom? And more importantly, how do we bridge it? These questions will guide us forward. Because understanding the problem is only the beginning. The real work lies in transformation. And that transformation requires something most educated people resist. It requires surrender. Not of intelligence, but of the arrogance that often accompanies it. Stay with us, because what comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew. And the final revelation will offer you a key that most never find. The gap between intelligence and wisdom is not random. It is systematic. Our entire civilization is designed to produce one while suppressing the other. From childhood, we are conditioned to value external validation over internal knowing. We learn to please teachers, not to trust our own perception. We memorize facts to pass tests, not to understand life. We compete for grades, not for growth. The message is clear. Your worth lies in what you can prove you know, not in who you are becoming. This creates a fundamental split in the psyche. We develop an intellectual self rewarded by society, and we suppress an intuitive self that might question what society values. By the time we reach adulthood, most people have completely lost touch with their intuitive wisdom. They've learned to distrust their gut feelings, to dismiss their deeper knowing, to defer to external authorities. They become what the philosopher Immanuel Kant called immature, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack the courage to use their own understanding without guidance from another. This is why you'll meet people with multiple degrees who can't make basic life decisions, who read philosophy but can't apply it to their marriages, who study psychology but lack self-awareness. The knowledge never integrated. It remained external, decorative, performative. True wisdom, in contrast, is integrative. It doesn't just know something intellectually, it embodies it, it lives it, it becomes it. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Because wisdom is not something you have, it is something you are. This integration requires something that intelligence alone cannot provide. It requires experience, particularly difficult experience. Wisdom is forged in the fire of struggle, when your plans fail, when your beliefs shatter, when your certainties crumble. These are not obstacles to wisdom, they are its prerequisites. The psychologist Carl Jung spent years exploring what he called the integration of the shadow. He understood that wisdom requires facing the parts of yourself you'd rather deny. Your capacity for selfishness, cruelty, self-deception. Intelligent people often use their intellect to avoid this confrontation. They rationalize their flaws, they intellectualize their pain, they theorize about growth rather than actually growing. Wisdom demands something different. It demands honesty. Brutal, uncomfortable honesty. Not just about the world, but about yourself. This is why wise people often seem more fallible than intelligent people. They're not hiding behind polished performances. They've admitted their limitations. Consider the difference in how intelligent versus wise people handle being wrong. An intelligent person, when proven wrong, will often double down. They'll find new arguments, new data, new ways to preserve their position. Their identity is tied to being right. A wise person, when shown a deeper truth, says, "Thank you," and changes, because their identity is not tied to being right. It's tied to being real. This flexibility, this openness, this humility, these are the marks of wisdom. Now let's examine another crucial distinction. Intelligence tends to fragment. It analyzes by breaking things into parts. But wisdom synthesizes. It sees connections, patterns, wholes. It understands that life cannot be reduced to its components, that a human being is more than biology and chemistry, that existence itself points to something beyond what can be measured. The scientist who studies the brain learns about neurons. The sage who contemplates consciousness asks, what is it that observes? Intelligence can map the entire universe and still miss the meaning of a single moment. Wisdom can sit in silence and comprehend eternity. We've also confused information with understanding. You can read 1,000 books on love and still not know how to love. You can study nutrition extensively and still eat destructively. You can memorize scripture and still miss the divine. Why? Because wisdom is not in the information. It's in the integration. It's in the lived experience of applying truth until it becomes part of your being. The poet Khalil Gibran wrote, "A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than much knowledge that is idle." Yet our culture encourages accumulation over embodiment. We collect degrees, certificates, accomplishments, but we remain hollow inside. We have libraries in our heads and wastelands in our hearts. The ancient mystery schools understood that wisdom could not be taught through lecture alone. It had to be transmitted through initiation, through ordeal, through transformation. The student had to die to their old self and be reborn. This is why modern education, for all its efficiency, produces so few truly wise individuals, because it transfers information without requiring transformation. It fills the mind without touching the soul, and the soul is where wisdom lives. Not in the intellect, not in memory, but in that deeper place where you meet yourself, where you face your mortality, where you discover what you truly value. So how do we cultivate wisdom in a world designed to produce only intelligence? The path begins with unlearning. You must question the assumptions you've never questioned, the beliefs you inherited without examination, the values you adopted to fit in. Second, distinguish between your conditioned mind and your essential nature. Your conditioned mind is accumulated programming. Your essential nature is the awareness beneath it all. Wisdom emerges from essence, not conditioning. Third, engage life directly, not through concepts. Develop beginner's mind. See each moment fresh. Wisdom lives in direct contact with reality. Intelligence lives in abstraction. Fourth, embrace silence, internal stillness. In silence, deeper truths emerge, truth that cannot be spoken, only known. Make space for this daily. Fifth, learn from life itself. Every person is a teacher, every challenge a lesson, every failure an invitation. Wisdom learns from everything. Finally, live according to your deepest understanding, even when it conflicts with expectations. Wisdom that is not lived is not wisdom, it's just ideas. This demands courage. It will cost you false relationships, compromised careers, constructed identities. But what you gain is infinitely more valuable. You gain yourself. And from this place, wisdom flows naturally. Now we approach the final understanding. Stay present, because what comes next is not just information. It's an invitation to transform your entire existence. We've explored intelligence without wisdom. Now we arrive at something deeper, the ultimate realization that transcends the paradigm itself. Here is the truth few dare to speak. The separation between intelligence and wisdom is itself an illusion. A useful distinction, yes, but it points to something more fundamental. The real crisis is not that we lack wisdom, it's that we've lost connection to the source from which both flow. That source is consciousness itself, pure awareness, the ground of being. When you reconnect with this source, the question dissolves. You're no longer identified with intellect, no longer seeking wisdom as separate. You recognize yourself as the space in which all knowing arises. This is the final escape, not from stupidity to intelligence, not from intelligence to wisdom, but from identification with mind into recognition of what you truly are. The sage Ramana Maharshi taught one practice, self-inquiry. Who am I? Not philosophical, but direct investigation. Who knows? Who thinks? Who seeks? When you trace this to its source, something extraordinary happens. The seeker disappears. What remains is simply seeing. Pure awareness. Just the isness of existence. From this recognition, wisdom arises spontaneously. Not learned, but revealed as what you are. This is what mystics discovered, that beneath mind, personality, conditioning, there is wisdom that is not yours. It is universal, eternal, always present. We've simply looked in the wrong direction. This is why the wisest seemed paradoxical. They weren't trying to be wise. They stopped pretending. They surrendered the effort of maintaining separation and discovered infinite wisdom flowing from existence itself. Once you recognize your nature as pure awareness, everything changes. No separate self to defend, no death to fear, no external fulfillment to seek. You recognize the fullness already here. From this ground, you engage life with freedom intelligence alone cannot provide. Use intelligence skillfully but untrapped. Appreciate wisdom but ungrasping. Navigate form, rooted in formless. This is what great teachings pointed toward. Not self-improvement, but recognition that self is not what you thought. Not a limited person becoming wise, but consciousness itself, temporarily appearing as person. When this stabilizes, miracles happen. Tormenting questions lose urgency. you've seen through the questioner. Consuming conflicts resolve, not through arguments, but deeper seeing. The lifelong search comes to rest. Not finding what you sought, but discovering what you are was never lost. This is ultimate wisdom. Not resume material, not debate winning, but transformation of every moment. You can still engage intelligence, learn, create, contribute, but no longer imprisoned by believing value depends on achievement. Free to know and not know, brilliant and ordinary, success and failure, your deepest identity not at stake. So here is the final invitation. Stop trying to become wise. Instead, investigate who wants to become wise. Trace that desire to its source. Discover what lies beyond the seeker. This is not a time process. It's instant recognition. You are not a separate entity accumulating knowledge for safety. You are awareness in which the world appears. Right now, notice the awareness noticing. Not located, no boundaries, not young or old, educated or ignorant. It simply is, and it is what you fundamentally are. From this recognition, live, not perfectly, not without mistakes, but with deep peace knowing your true nature. This peace is not circumstance dependent, not achievement based, not loss threatened. It is your ground, always present, always available, always sufficient. When you live from this, you become what the world needs, not another expert, not another intellectual, but presence reminding others what they are. And this is the resolution. Intelligence and wisdom are not opposites to balance. Both are consciousness becoming aware of itself. When you recognize your nature, you stop choosing between them. Stop becoming. Rest in what you are. From that rest, intelligence and wisdom and love and creativity arise naturally, like fragrance from flower, not manufactured, simply emerging from source. This is the invitation, not to improve, but recognize yourself. Not become wise, but see wisdom is your nature. Not escape the world, but discover you are the space in which world appears. Once this stabilizes, you become light, not by preaching, not teaching, simply being. The world doesn't need more intelligence. It's drowning in it. It needs presence. Conscious beings awake, seeing through separation, acting from wholeness. You can be one, not achieving anything, not becoming anything, recognizing what you already are. This is final wisdom, ultimate intelligence, deepest truth. You're not person experiencing awareness. You are awareness experiencing personhood. When you live from this, everything changes, not dramatically external, but subtle shift from seeking to being, becoming to presence, time to now. This is the revolution no system can control. It happens in intimate space of your being. Once it happens, it ripples outward, silently, powerfully, transforming everything, not through force, through truth. If you've stayed through this exploration, something in you knows, recognizes this truth, not intellectually, deeper. Honor that knowing. Follow that thread, not adding concepts, but removing barriers of belief, identity, seeking itself. What you're looking for is what is looking. Always been the case, you just forgot. But forgetting is part of the play. Remembering is the joy-making, forgetting worthwhile. Welcome home to yourself. Not new self, not improved self, but self you've always been. Beneath intelligence, beneath wisdom, beneath everything coming and going, what you are remains. Unchanging, unborn, undying, whole, complete, perfect, now. This is ultimate escape from the paradox, not through resolution, through recognition, not through becoming, through being, available this very moment, not later, when you've learned, achieved, or become enough. Now, exactly as you are, because what you truly are is enough, has always been enough, will always be enough. This is final truth, ultimate wisdom, deepest intelligence. You are home. You've always been home. you just forgot to notice. Notice now, and everything changes. Thank you for this journey into truth.